Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the counselor's office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we have an article by IGN about Bungie, because of course, the story continues on, and as someone who reports actively the stupid crap that happens at Bungie, note to self and to everyone else, I actively dislike Bungie's leaders. They are all garbage cans. They are all trash. So let's get that out of the way, okay? The devs, I feel sorry for. Okay, let's make that very clear. So when I trash Bungie, I'm mostly trashing the ones that are making the poor decisions while dragging the whole company down with them. Let's get that out of the way. Bungie says atmosphere is soul-crushing amid layoffs, cuts, and fears a total Sony takeover. 1 month after a major round of layoffs impacted roughly, let's go ahead and drop that. Okay, that is not what I wanted. There we go. 1 month after major layoffs impacted roughly 100 Bungie employees of the 1,200, those remaining at the Destiny developer, says the cuts, as well as other cost-cutting measures, came alongside an apparent scramble by the studio leadership to avoid a total Sony takeover. For those who don't understand, is Sony, they delayed the final shape, they delayed Marathon, and Sony's like, yo, what are you doing? We bought you, we paid money for you, and you are not making, you're doing bad, right? You're making bad choices. And so the leadership, the douchebags at Bungie, the leaders, Pete Parsons specifically, like, oh god, we can't lose our job, so we're gonna fire these people instead. That's kind of catching you up in the summary. As it currently stands, Bungie is, on paper, a fully independent subsidiary of Sony, but its board of directors has been divided since the takeover in July of 2022. Among its current members are PlayStation Studio head Herman Holst, Sony Senior VP Eric Lapel, Bungie co-founder Jason Jones, Bungie CTO Luis Villegas. These are names that we probably have no idea who they are, but they're one making some bad choices, with Parsons, we know that douchebag, serving as a tiebreaker vote. But speaking to IGN under condition of anonymity, multiple current and former Bungie employees described a department meeting that took place shortly after the layoffs, in which leaders hinted that this shared power may not last forever. Sony did not respond to IGN's request for a comment on this piece. Bungie declined to comment. Of course not, because it makes them look bad. Declaration of dependence. Whilst the exact details of Sony's deal to acquire Bungie remain unknown to the public or employees, sources, yet the key word, even the employees don't understand what actually is the bottom dollar. Sources say they were told by leadership that current split board structure is contingent on Bungie meeting certain financial goals. If Bungie fell short of certain financial thresholds by too great an amount, Sony is allowed to dissolve the existing board and take full control of the company. This is prototypical, I think, for most companies, like especially when you're investing. And I think that's like, it's easy to paint Sony as the villain here, but spend millions of dollars on something and you get nothing in return, you're going to be upset too. Like, they have a right to play, mom and dad and tell you what you need to do. And with Destiny 2 expansion, the final shape delayed into the next fiscal year, and Bungie still investing heavily on Marathon, many employees understand that Bungie is struggling to meet necessary targets to keep its last vestige of freedom. Such a takeover wouldn't necessarily be shocking given its 2022 acquisition, but it would nevertheless be a stunning development to a company that had historically prided itself on its independence. So just some obvious things to point out there. Yes, they're used to being independent to a certain extent, but Sony's buyout is very important because it was reported that if Sony had not bought them out, Bungie would have been in the negative. They probably would have crashed and burned because they were not doing well on their own. Sony seriously saved Bungie. It was with this threat looming that Bungie leadership, not Sony, according to Parsons, made the choice to lay off roughly 100 employees last month. Yeah, because their job was on the line. If Sony took over and they saw that the leadership was making bad choices, guess who's probably going to get fired? The leadership. At least a good company looks at the crap that the leadership that's making the bad choices and like get out. So yeah, they want to say they don't want to get fired. They don't want to lose their money. So of course they're going to make the hard choices. And they laid off 100 employees last month. But the cost cutting at Bungie isn't limited to personnel. Multiple current employees confirmed to IGN that the company has implemented numerous other cutting measures recently, including a studio-wide hiring freeze, reduced travel budgets, elimination of holiday bonuses. Oh my God. That's why I left Walmart, because if you had a store where theft was, you as an employee, you can only do so much to control theft, right? We are taught at Walmart, so you see someone stealing, you can't touch them. You can't stop them. You have to let them walk. And the higher, loss that you get, like in the store, it's not the store or the company that pays it out. It is the employees, because your bonus is tied to the losses. So if you have high theft in your store, you're not going to get much of a bonus, if any. So I understand how this feels to not get not necessarily a holiday bonus, but a bonus. Keeping its annual Bungie Day virtual, delaying its weekend-long company pentathlon event to next December, and reducing numerous morale events such as cooking and knitting classes for monthly. No! What will we ever do without these lessons? Okay, as much as I want to rail that, Bungie always prided itself as being a good culture to a certain extent. And so sounds like things that are prototypical of that culture, and it's going out the door, which is very concerning for anyone who cares about the health of devs, because, it's really, we don't care about you. Just make the stupid game. And that's not me saying that. That's the head honchos, right? Reducing numerous morale events. Bungie is also pausing or fully ending benefits like annual employee compensation adjustments to meet market rates. Its new higher lunch program, employee donation matching, its peer recognition program, gift cards for employees' birthdays, and yearly studio performance bonuses year will only be contracted obligated 80% minimum after being above 100% for good performance several previous years running. Yeah, so they are squeezing everything and anything in that company. It is a bad time to be a Bungie employee. Along with the recent layoffs, this has resulted in a massive decay and morale within the company. Yeah, you just had your friends fired. The company is screwing you over. No bonuses. No, they're pulling out all this culture that you're accustomed to. Like the thing, like obviously it's not that big of a deal. Like, oh no, I won't be able to have cooking classes. But it's the principle of this job as a culture, and it's now being ripped apart. Like, it's not the job I enjoyed and loved. Along with the recent recording, IGN's one of the sources told us that the mood within the studio has been soul-crushing over the last month, and it doesn't sound like management is making any significant efforts toward improving the atmosphere. That's a key thing. Management, the douchebags in charge, the people who are out there saying, well, if you don't buy our game, we're going to have to fire more people, and that's the gamer's fault. Do you really want to hurt these people? Buy our game. These are the people that those brain dead morons out there like, well, I know people at Bungie and I'm not going to hurt them. I'm going to buy the game and support them. No, you're supporting people like this who don't care about you or their own employees. That's the bottom dollar. You are supporting Pete Parsons. According to those still with the company, employee frustration and sadness in the days and weeks following the layoffs was met with a surprising amount of indifference or even outright flippancy or hostility for management. Man, imagine that. What? You gonna cry? Oh, yeah, I fired your friend. Get to work, punk, or it's gonna be you next. It's prototypical for management, and again, coming from someone who worked at a corporate company, Walmart, they don't really care. To a certain extent, they don't care. You are just a pawn in the grand scheme of them making money. Of course, they're indifferent. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your happiness. They want a product. And this sounds like the real colors of the leadership of the management is showing. Again, I made a comment in my previous video saying the only way things change is if the employees at Bungie stand up for themselves. Like if there was a complete strike or walkout, not only is that terrifying for the leadership, what are they going to do? Fire every last person? If they do that, Sony's going to have them by the neck. But again, I'm not Bungie. These people have to make their own choices. Nothing that us as a consumer really does anything except for not buying the product sends a message. If the culture is being destroyed by management, then they need to change it themselves. Bungie devs need to stand up for themselves. What am I going to do? Wag my finger and say, oh, don't you dare management. Don't you do that to those people. They don't care about me. Several people we spoke to told us that leadership had reiterated across multiple meetings that they couldn't guarantee there wouldn't be more layoffs. And I said that. I said, expect it to happen more. This is not going to be the end of it. With two specifically confirming previous reports that Chief People Officer Holly Barkovy outright stated that layoffs were a lever the company would pull again. Oh my God, you are going to threaten people? You better do work or we're going to pull that lever. These are people who have no fear of losing their job. This is the management. It's like, hey, I'm going to pull what levers. I'm going to sacrifice you before I lose my job. And this is the people, I'm telling you, people think that just buying a DLC and buying the Witcher set, I'm going to support the Bungie. You're not supporting them. You are not fundamentally changing anything because the people like this are still in charge. People like this are willing to pull that lever regardless what you do. We know we need the final shape to do well, one source to IGN, and the feeling at the studio is that if it doesn't, we're definitely looking at more layoffs. And I believe if it doesn't come sooner, if Sony feels like even before we get there, like this whole season, if they feel like this is just a waste of money, they're going to take over. But I can definitely guarantee if the final shape doesn't pop off, say like word of mouth spreads, people don't buy this, Sony is going to dissolve Bungie. It's going to happen. Others say they were rebuffed repeatedly and discouraged from even discussing the layoffs whenever they try to ask questions. Employees in one department recalled a post-layoff Q&A session where a department head was asked if leadership taking salary cuts to prevent layoffs had been considered, only to respond that Bungie was not that type of company. Come here. Come here. No. Come here. You. Come here. You are a piece of crap. The leadership? Yeah, you. You are a piece of crap. I hope you step on a freaking Lego, you prick. Oh, and as for anyone who says, oh, I'm going to support Bungie by buying all this stuff. It's good. I want them to be able to get paid. And they're not. No, you're dumb. You are so absolutely dumb. Because Bungie is not that company. Bungie's not that company. What a brain dead, shallow, mindless statement. God, the PR just I'll give you my thoughts at the end. What's more, sources we spoke to point out that many of the Bungie employees were laid off were beloved community leaders within the studio. Yeah, some of the best people, like literally some of the best people, and you're going to throw them out the door, including many who were including many who spearheaded employee inclusion and support efforts. That's interesting. Several people who we spoke to expressed anger at the layoff of Bungie General Counsel Don McGowan, who played a key role in Bungie winning a historic suit against a player who harassed a Bungie developer. Who's that guy? Who's that guy? What's going on here? Yeah, he helped us win that lawsuit we had against the dude that was harassing our developer. He's a hero. What? He's wasting his time suing stuff? This is not the company. The Bungie's not that kind of company. You're wasting time. You should be making the game. Get him out of here. Fire him. Yeah, you hear that? The rest of you devs out there, you waste your time. That's right. You waste your time for these stupid things. Who cares about you? Get over it. What are you going to do? Cry because he's bullying you? You little crybaby sissy. That's right. Stop it. Get to work. If you try to fight this and sue people, we're going to throw you out because you're a little crybaby sissy. Okay, obviously the management doesn't probably sound like that. Actually, they probably do. God, I hate Bungie management. They're so garbage human beings. Others laid off included a noticeable number of members of Bungie's D, E, and I clubs, including co-heads of Pride at Bungie, Women at Bungie, and Accessibility. Yes, because who cares about LGBT? Who cares about women? And who cares about disabled people? We don't need none of that. Granted, they are clubs. Like, it's obviously meant for community building, and I get it. It's again, but it is the culture, right? It's the culture that Bungie was building and had in place, and that culture is being thrown out the door. And if you kill that culture, you start killing the the morale of your developers. They don't care anymore. Like, when I went to Walmart, I really didn't care about my job. I absolutely hated it, and that's what made me quit. And I had to move on. Like, I was obviously in college working, but I really escalated. I've got to get out of here. Whilst researching this article, IGN noted that the public news article announcing Women at Bungie and Accessibility at Bungie on its official blog were no longer accessible on the Bungie website, though it's unclear exactly when or why this happened, or if it's an unintentional recurring bug with the blog. I'm angry. I'm upset. This isn't what I came here to do, one person said. It feels like many higher-ups aren't listening to the data, or are like, we just need to win our fans back. They still like us. No, they don't. We got rid. I love this statement. Management's like, we need to win our fans back. They still like us. No, they don't. We got rid of some of the most knowledgeable, beloved folks who have been here 20 plus years. Every day I walk in afraid that I or my friends are next. No one is safe. No one is safe. Oh my God. That is not the culture you want in a job. Because if that's how you feel, why put more effort into something knowing that it may not matter? You had people like this, 20 plus years, experience, dedication. But if you can get thrown out the door, why put more effort knowing that it doesn't even matter? Bungie eroding. Another anxiety sources discussed with us was that many of the reductions made at Bungie recently were part of a broader move toward outsourcing. Multiple individuals across various departments told us they heard discussion within their team of plans to increase outsourcing both before and in the wake of layoffs, which we knew. We knew that they cut a lot of people out just because they're going to outsource. Outsourcing is cheaper, and Bungie's obviously trying to save a buck. One team where those discussions have already become a reality is quality assurance, quality assurance, man, imagine all the bugs and things that have been happening in the game. Imagine that. While outsourcing QA is extremely common practice industry-wide, Bungie historically also has enlisted an army of in-house embedded QA testers working within individual teams. It's a setup the studio has prided itself on for many years. For QA sources within the studio are now afraid that strategy is on its way out. We previously reported that Bungie's Q&A team saw a rash of mysterious departures in the months before layoffs, and also noted a team-wide culture shift toward a general pool of testers consisting of both in-house and outsourced individuals. Former and current QA department members at Bungie tell us that in the last year, the team has seen increased workloads and responsibilities, with more and more disciplinary actions taken for seemingly minor infractions. Yeah, usually when they do that, it's because they're trying to get you to leave or fire you. And that's the bottom dollar. Usually because Walmart used to do the same thing, not necessarily minor infractions, but they would reduce your hours and essentially make you quit. And it sounds like that's what they're trying to do with these infractions. They're being nitpicky to try to get rid of you. They also perceive growing hostility from team and company leadership, including a meeting in which Q&A was said to be referred to by leaders as non-developers. In total, that's insulting. In total, sources tell us that 10% of Bungie's internal QA department was either fired or laid off between early October and early November, including both the reported layoffs and the departures leading up to them. In a year that will go down in gaming history due to the sheer number of layoffs and studio closures, Bungie's situation nonetheless stands out, and not for good reasons. It's a well-known, long-standing studio that, despite historical culture problems, which it has had issues with, like diversity, there's been suits, there's a suit going on currently, had managed to cultivate an increasingly positive community of fans around a beloved game while improving its own internal culture by gradual degrees. But in the wake of acquisition that shocked many Bungie employees we've spoken to, and which seemed out of character with the studio's independent streak, it feels to many like that's falling apart. Beloved colleagues have been laid off, benefits are vanishing, and many feel the more people-oriented, as one source put it, culture of recent years is being torn to pieces by the very Bungie leaders that touted it for so long. Because when push comes to shove, they just care about money. And seemingly also those same leaders can retain a vestige of control over a company that's already been sold away anyway. It's because money is power, or power is money in this case. Folks still there are very much feeling us versus them between leadership and workers. One person said, that trust has been eroded. Given the recent actions, the question of whether or not Sony will finally manage to swallow Bungie whole in a few months seems less and less important than the question of what Bungie's current management will do to lead the company forward today. I fully expect Bungie leadership to do more layoffs. I expect them to cut corners. I expect them to do just the bare minimum. Like, let's be honest here. If Sony completely got in control, there could be a good chance that they wipe the board clean. But there could be a chance that they just that's inappropriate. Remove the leadership. I honestly, and here's my thing. Yes, there could be more egregious, maybe not egregious, but more microtransactions. But I'm on the mindset that Sony has some of the best games. Think of God of War, the first Last of Us. I don't care about the second Last of Us. Spider-Man, like these are Horizon, like these are great games. And I can only imagine if one of those talented, and I'm not saying Bungie's not talented, but I do think that their leadership is a little bit better than Bungie's leadership. These different companies, what if they had a chance to tell the story of Destiny? I think I want Sony to take over. Get rid of Pete Parsons, because here's the thing: if those, because this is the biggest issue. Folks are still very much feeling us versus them. Management's not going to change. We know this. We understand this. And here's the deal. If they're not willing to change and they're willing to sacrifice the whole team, why is the team not doing anything? That's my question. If you live in fear, you live in active fear, in anger, in frustration, and the ship could go down at any time, I would be stopping the ship. Full stop. You know what? I'm going on strike. What are they going to do? Fire everyone? No. Now, what may happen if they go on strike is Sony might actually just take full control. But it could be a position where they remove management, because management's the issue. I think we as a community need to voice this. We need to voice that management needs to go. Sony needs to take over and remove the management. Let the developers stay. Get rid of management. That's what I'm advocating. I'm advocating because if we are going to speak, and I did say toting your fingers, I meant to management. To Sony does usually listen to a certain point their fans. Like I said, they make some banger games, and they do listen occasionally to some feedback from gamers. And if you press the button on the money, Sony's going to have to do something, right? I don't know. I think we are at the point where the quality of the game is being impacted. Like, Season of the Wish is the laziest season I have seen. And it's because if I was a developer, I would do bare minimal work too, knowing that I could go out the door. Why put more effort and care into something when I can just push something out and get paid and not stress as much? But again, I wouldn't be staying there. I would be looking for a different position somewhere else, or I would be standing against it. That's just my personal thought and opinion. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Again, I don't have the answers for everything, but I do think the developers and the people working at Bungie who are actively scared need to do something. That's all on them. There's something that I can't force them. We can't force them. But Bungie management is the scum of earth. They're not going to change, and they will actively remove they'll pull that lever and remove as many people as they need. So go ahead and waste your money spending it, hoping that you'll save those developers, because they don't care about you or your little pocket change. They'll do whatever they can. Sad. It's very sad. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, comment down below, and what do you think about the situation? And I hope that we can at least, even if you disagree on some other points I make, we can all actively, even the Bungie ball fondlers can jump in and we could shake hands. Wash them first, please, with all the ball fondling. But we can actively agree together. Bungie management, Pete Parsons, screw you. Step on a freaking Lego.